The Cedar Hollow night roared with a vicious storm, its winds battering the isolated Carter Ranch, a sprawling estate tucked in Oregon's rugged hills. Rain lashed the old farmhouse, its weathered boards groaning, the air thick with damp earth and ozone. Inside, Sophie Miller, 12, brown hair tangled under a worn hoodie, curled on the kitchen floor, her thin frame trembling, fresh bruises blooming on her arms. Her voice was a whisper, choked with tears. "Please, no more." James Carter, 45, gray hair slick, vest crisp despite the whiskey in his hand, loomed over her, voice a snarl. "You're useless, kid." Rex, a German shepherd, black and tan coat sleek, paced outside the kitchen window, amber eyes blazing, his low growl drowned by thunder. His massive frame pressed against the glass, a canine guardian sensing Sophie's pain, inspired by real tales of canine loyalty. Sophie's voice was faint to herself. "Rex, I'm sorry." James's voice was sharp, kicking a chair. "Quit sniveling." "You're mine to raise." His hand rose, whiskey bottle glinting, but a flash of lightning froze him. Rex's bark a thunderclap, claws scraping the door. Sophie's heart raced, her voice a plea. "Don't hurt him, Uncle James." James's voice was a sneer, turning, "That mutt's next if you don't shut up." The storm's fury mirrored the terror in Sophie's eyes, her body scarred by months of his rage since her parents' death left her in his care. The ranch, a fortress of wealth from James's shady deals, hid his cruelty, neighbors too far to hear her cries. Sophie's voice was soft, clutching a locket. "Dad, help me." The kitchen reeked of whiskey and fear, James's shadow swallowing the dim light. His voice was low, menacing. "You tell anyone, you're done." Sophie's voice was trembling, nodding. "I won't, I swear." Rex's growl surged, his amber eyes locked on James, a canine soul ready to strike, his bond with Sophie, her father's last gift. Unbreakable. James's voice was a shout, grabbing a belt. "You need discipline." The leather snapped. Sophie, flinching, her voice a cry. "No!" The twist hit like lightning. Rex's bark exploded, the window shattering as he leaped through. Glass raining, his black and tan frame a blur, teeth bared. James's voice was a yelp, stumbling back. "Get off!" Rex's snarl was fierce, pinning him. Amber eyes blazing, a canine protector defying a monster, inspired by real tales of dogs saving their own. Sophie's voice was a sob, crawling to Rex. "You came for me." James's voice was a roar, shoving Rex. "Stupid dog!" He swung the bottle, but Rex dodged, his growl a warning, standing between Sophie and her tormentor. Ellie's voice was urgent, grabbing a broom. "Stop, Uncle James!" The storm howled, rain flooding the kitchen, James's vest soaked, his face twisted with rage. His voice was venomous to Sophie. "You're both dead!" But a knock pounded the door, startling him, a woman's voice calling. "Anyone home?" Emma Larson, 60, silver hair under a raincoat, stood outside, voice steady. "Sophie, it's Emma from town." The retired mail carrier, suspicious of James's secrecy, had braved the storm. Sophie's voice was faint to Rex. "She's here." James's voice was sharp to Sophie. Not a word. He straightened, vest smoothing, voice slick, opening the door. "Emma, bad night to visit." Emma's voice was calm, eyeing Sophie. "Just checking in." Heard a commotion. The payback hit with a chuckle. James's bottle slipped, shattering on the floor, his voice a curse. "Damn it!" Emma's voice was dry, smirking. "Careful, Carter." Rex's growl was low, his black and tan frame shielding Sophie, amber eyes locked on James, a canine sentinel sensing deceit. Sophie's voice was trembling to Emma. "I'm okay." But her bruises told another story, Emma's gaze narrowing. Ellie's voice was soft to Rex. You saved me, boy. James's voice was cold to Emma. She's fine. Storm's got her jumpy. Emma's voice was firm, stepping closer. I'm not leaving, James. The storm raged. Cedar Hollow's secret stirring, and Sophie's bond with Rex was a spark that could break her chains or ignite James's deadly wrath. The Cedar Hollow morning broke under a gray drizzle, its mist curling through the pines, cloaking the Carter ranch in a damp hush. The farmhouse, a looming shadow of wealth, stood silent, its air heavy with whiskey and fear. Sophie Miller, 12, brown hair tangled under a faded hoodie, crouched in the attic, her thin frame shivering, bruises throbbing on her arms. Rex, a German shepherd, black and tan coat sleek, pressed against her, amber eyes soft, a canine guardian offering warmth, inspired by real tales of canine devotion. Sophie's voice was a whisper, stroking him. You saved me last night, Rex. James Carter's voice boomed below, a phone call echoing. No delays, got it. The deal's set. Sophie's heart raced, her voice faint. To Rex, he's angry again. James, 45, gray hair slick, vest crisp, had terrorized her since her parents' death, his wealth from shady deals masking his cruelty. Rex's whine was low, his massive frame tense, sensing her fear, amber eyes flicking to the attic hatch. Sophie's voice was choked, clutching a locket. Dad, what do I do? The attic creaked, dust swirling as Sophie's fingers traced a hidden box, her father's keepsakes. Her voice was a gasp, pulling out a crumpled letter. Sophie, if I'm gone, trust Rex. He's your strength. A key fell, etched with barn loft. Sophie's voice was urgent to Rex. What's this? Rex's tail flicked, his black and tan fur brushing her, amber eyes locked on the key, a canine guide urging her forward, inspired by real tales of dogs sensing truth. Footsteps thudded below, James's voice sharp. Sophie, where are you? Sophie's voice was a whisper, stuffing the letter in her pocket. We gotta hide, Rex. The hatch rattled, James's voice a snarl. Get down here, now! Rex's growl was fierce, his amber eyes blazing, standing between Sophie and the hatch, a canine protector ready to strike. Sophie's voice was trembling to Rex. Stay quiet, boy. The tension spiked, a knock pounding the front door, Emma Larson's voice calling, Sophie, it's Emma! The retired mail carrier, 60, silver hair under a raincoat, had lingered after last night's storm, her suspicions growing. James's voice was slick, opening the door. Emma, twice in one day? What's up? Emma's voice was calm, peering inside. Checking on Sophie. Storm was rough. Sophie's voice was faint to Rex. She's back. James's voice was cold, stepping aside. She's fine, just shy. Emma's voice was firm, eyeing Sophie's shadow. I'd like to see her, James. Rex's whine was soft, his amber eyes locked on Sophie, nudging her toward the hatch, a canine soul urging courage. Sophie's voice was a whisper, descending. Okay, boy. Her hoodie hung loose, bruises hidden as she faced Emma, voice small. Hi, Ms. Larson. Emma's voice was warm, kneeling. You okay, sweetie? Sophie's voice was shaky, nodding. Yeah, but her trembling hands betrayed her, Emma's gaze narrowing. James's voice was sharp to Emma. She's got chores. Time to go. The payback hit with a chuckle. James's phone slipped, cracking on the floor, his voice a curse. Damn it! Emma's voice was dry, smirking. Careful, Carter. The twist hit like a spark. Sophie's locket fell open, revealing a photo. Her father with Rex as a pup, a barn in the background. Emma's voice was a gasp, recognizing it. "That's the old Miller barn." "Your dad's?" Sophie's voice was stunned, clutching it. "Yeah." James's voice was tense, stepping closer. "Enough chatting." But Emma's voice was steady to Sophie. "Come by my place later, okay?" Her eyes flicked to James, a silent warning. Ellie's voice was soft to Rex. "She knows, doesn't she?" Rex's growl was low, his black and tan frame shielding her, amber eyes locked on James, sensing his rage. James's voice was a snarl to Sophie as Emma left. "You say one word, you're done." Sophie's voice was trembling to herself. "The key. The barn." Rex's whine was urgent, nudging her hand, a canine hero guiding her to a truth that could free her or ignite James's deadly wrath. The pines loomed, Cedar Hollow's secrets stirring, and Sophie's bond with Rex was a spark that could light her escape or burn everything down. The Cedar Hollow dawn crept through a shroud of mist, its pine-draped hills cloaking the Carter Ranch in a ghostly veil, the air sharp with damp cedar and the faint tang of frost. The farmhouse stood silent, its wealth a facade for the terror within. Sophie Miller, 12, brown hair tucked under a worn hoodie, slipped into the barn, her thin frame trembling, fresh bruises aching on her arms. Rex, a German shepherd, black and tan coat sleek, padded beside her, amber eyes vigilant, a canine guardian sensing her fear, inspired by real tales of canine loyalty. Sophie's voice was a whisper, clutching a key. "This is it, Rex. Dad's secret." The barn creaked, its dusty air heavy with hay and old leather. Sophie's voice was soft, climbing to the loft. "The letter said here." Rex's whine was low, his massive frame tense, amber eyes locked on the ladder, a canine hero urging her forward. Her fingers pried a loose board, revealing a hidden tin, her father's journal, pages yellowed, scrawled with warnings. "James is stealing. Trust Rex." Sophie's voice was a gasp, reading, "He cheated us, Rex." Her heart raced, the truth of James Carter's betrayal sinking in, his wealth built on her family's ruin. Below, James's voice boomed, "Sophie, where are you?" Sophie's voice was tense, shoving the journal in her hoodie. "He's coming." Rex's growl was fierce, his black and tan fur bristling, standing between her and the loft's edge, amber eyes blazing. James, 45, gray hair slick, vest crisp, stormed in, voice a snarl. "Hiding, you little brat!" Sophie's voice was trembling to Rex. "Stay, boy!" But Rex's bark was sharp, a canine warning, his loyalty a shield against James's rage. The tension spiked, James's voice cold, climbing the ladder. "Get down or I'll drag you." Sophie's voice was a cry, backing away. "Leave me alone!" Rex's snarl was thunderous, lunging, teeth grazing James's sleeve, forcing him back. James's voice was a yelp, stumbling. "Damn mutt!" The payback hit with a chuckle. His vest caught a nail, ripping, his voice a curse. "Son of a..." Sophie's voice was soft to Rex. "Good boy." A truck's rumble cut through, Emma Larson's voice calling, "Sophie, you there?" The retired mail carrier, 60, silver hair under a knit cap, stepped into the barn, voice steady. Saw the door open. James's voice was slick, dusting his vest. "Just checking on the kid, Emma." Emma's voice was sharp, eyeing Sophie's pale face. "She okay, James?" Sophie's voice was faint, descending. "I'm fine, Ms. Larson." But her trembling hands betrayed her, Emma's gaze narrowing. Emma's voice was warm to Sophie. Come by my shop later, sweetie. James's voice was tense to Emma. She's got chores, time to go. Emma's voice was firm, lingering. I'll be back, Sophie. As she left, Sophie's voice was a whisper to Rex. She knows, doesn't she? Rex's whine was soft, his amber eyes locked on her, a canine hero sensing hope, inspired by real tales of quiet allies. James's voice was a growl to Sophie. You're pushing it, kid. One word, and you're done. The barn's shadows deepened, Sophie's heart pounding, her voice soft to herself. The journal. It's proof. But footsteps crunched outside. Clara Evans, 55, black hair, work dress neat, voice urgent. Sophie, I need to talk. The local shopkeeper, a friend of Sophie's late mom, clutched a faded ledger, voice low. Found this in my store, your dad's records. Sophie's voice was a gasp, grabbing it. What's it say? Clara's voice was tense, flipping it open. James siphoned your family's funds. Illegal deals, offshore accounts. James's voice was sharp, overhearing. What's that? He stormed closer, vest flapping, eyes narrowing. Sophie's voice was trembling, hiding the ledger. Nothing, Uncle James. Rex's growl was fierce, his black and tan frame shielding her, amber eyes blazing, a canine protector ready to fight. The twist hit like a thunderclap. Dr. Laura Bennett, 40, blonde hair, vet coat crisp, appeared, voice calm. James, I'm here for Rex's checkup. Her eyes flicked to Sophie's bruises, voice sharp. What's going on? Laura, a vet with a keen eye, had treated Rex before, suspecting James's cruelty. Sophie's voice was faint to Laura. I'm okay. But Laura's voice was firm to James. I'm taking Sophie for a ride, vet's orders. James's voice was cold, stepping closer. She stays. Clara's voice was sharp to James. Back off, Carter. Rex's snarl was fierce, his amber eyes locked on James, a canine hero holding the line. Laura's voice was steady to Sophie. Come with me now. Sophie's voice was trembling to Rex. Let's go, boy. The payback hit with a chuckle. James's phone rang, slipping from his hand, his voice a curse. Damn it! Clara's laugh was dry. Trouble, James? Ellie's voice was soft to Rex as they fled. You're my strength, like Dad said. The pines loomed, Cedar Hollow's secrets unraveling, and Sophie's bond with Rex was a spark that could expose James or ignite his deadly revenge. The Cedar Hollow dusk draped the Carter Ranch in a heavy gloom, its pine-draped hills swallowed by a creeping fog, the air thick with damp cedar and the bitter tang of fear. The farmhouse loomed, its wealth a cruel mask for the terror within. Sophie Miller, 12, brown hair tangled under a worn hoodie, hid in the barn loft, her thin frame pressed against a hay bale, bruises throbbing on her arms. Rex, a German shepherd, black and tan coat sleek, curled beside her, amber eyes vigilant, a canine guardian sensing her dread, inspired by real tales of canine loyalty. Sophie's voice was a whisper clutching her father's journal. He stole everything, Rex. We've got proof. Rex's whine was soft, his massive frame tense, amber eyes locked on the loft's trapdoor, a canine hero urging her to stay hidden. The journal found in the attic revealed James Carter's betrayal, siphoning her family's wealth through illegal deals. Sophie's voice was choked, reading, Dad trusted him. How could he? Her fingers traced a note tucked inside, her father's scrawl. Sophie, the safe, barn loft, code 729. Protect it. Her heart raced, voice urgent. There's more, Rex. Below, James's voice roared. Sophie, you little brat, where are you? Sophie's voice was a gasp, shoving the journal in her hoodie. He's coming. Rex's growl was low, his black and tan fur bristling, standing guard, amber eyes blazing. James, 45, gray hair slick, vest crisp, stormed into the barn, whiskey bottle in hand, voice a snarl. Hiding again? You're gonna regret this. Sophie's voice was trembling. To Rex, stay quiet, boy. The barn's shadows danced, hay dust swirling, as James's boots thudded on the ladder. His voice was cold. I know you're up there. Sophie's voice was a whisper crawling to a rusted safe. The code. 729. Her fingers fumbled, the safe clicking open, revealing a USB drive and a faded photo. Her parents with a young James, smiling. Sophie's voice was a sob. They trusted him. Rex's whine was urgent, nudging her, amber eyes flicking to the trapdoor, a canine sentinel sensing danger. The tension spiked, James's voice a roar, reaching the loft. Gotcha! His hand grabbed Sophie's arm, yanking her, whiskey breath hot. Sophie's voice was a scream. Let go! Rex's snarl was thunderous, lunging, teeth snapping at James's sleeve, forcing him back. James's voice was a yelp, stumbling. Damn mutt! The payback hit with a chuckle. His bottle shattered on the floor, his voice a curse. Son of a... Sophie's voice was desperate, clutching the USB. Rex, now! Rex's bark was fierce, his black and tan frame a blur, tackling James, pinning him to the hay. Sophie's voice was sobbing, scrambling down the ladder. Run, Rex! But headlights pierced the barn, a truck screeching to a halt. Emma Larson, 60, silver hair under a raincoat, burst in, voice sharp. Sophie, what's happening? The retired mail carrier, alerted by Sophie's absence, had returned. James's voice was slick, shoving Rex. Just a tantrum, Emma. Kid's out of control. Emma's voice was cold, eyeing Sophie's bruises. Doesn't look like a tantrum, James. Sophie's voice was faint, clutching the USB. Ms. Larson, help. Rex's growl was low, his amber eyes locked on James, standing between Sophie and her tormentor, a canine hero defying a monster, inspired by real tales of dogs facing threats. Emma's voice was steady to Sophie. Come with me, now. James's voice was a snarl, stepping forward. She stays. The twist hit like a thunderclap. Clara Evans, 55, black hair, work-dressed neat, rushed in, voice urgent. James, stop. The shopkeeper, holding a faded ledger, had followed Emma, voice sharp. This shows your deals, stolen funds, offshore accounts. Sophie's voice was stunned to Clara. You knew? Clara's voice was tense, nodding. Your mom asked me to watch out. Found this in my store. James's voice was a roar, lunging for the ledger. Give me that. Rex's snarl was fierce, his black and tan frame blocking James, amber eyes blazing, a canine protector holding the line. Emma's voice was sharp, grabbing Sophie. Out, now! Sophie's voice was trembling to Rex. Come on! But James's voice was venomous, pulling a knife. You're not leaving. Clara's voice was a shout to James. Drop it, Carter. The payback hit with a chuckle. James's knife slipped, clattering, his voice a curse. Damn it. Emma's laugh was dry. Slippery fingers, huh? Dr. Laura Bennett, 40, blonde hair, vet coat crisp, appeared, voice calm. I called Sheriff Cole. He's coming. Her eyes flicked to Sophie's bruises, voice sharp. James, this ends now. Sophie's voice was soft to Rex. You did it, boy. Rex's whine was gentle, his amber eyes locked on her, a canine hero sensing safety, inspired by real tales of quiet victories. James's voice was tense, backing away. You've got nothing on me. Emma's voice was firm to Sophie. You're safe with us. Sophie's voice was choked, clutching the USB. "The safe house. It's proof." Clara's voice was warm to Ellie. "Your dad trusted you, kid." The pines loomed, Cedar Hollow's secrets unraveling, and Sophie's bond with Rex was a spark that could expose James's crimes or ignite his desperate wrath. The Cedar Hollow night unleashed a ferocious storm, its winds howling through the pine-draped hills, rain battering the Carter Ranch like a vengeful fist. The farmhouse, a fortress of ill-gotten wealth, groaned under the onslaught, its air thick with whiskey and dread. Sophie Miller, 12, brown hair plastered under a soaked hoodie, cowered in the kitchen, her thin frame trembling, fresh bruises blooming on her cheek. James Carter, 45, gray hair disheveled, vest stained with liquor, towered over her, voice a slurred snarl. "You think you can hide that drive, you little brat?" Rex, a German shepherd, black and tan coat drenched, paced outside, amber eyes blazing through the rain-smeared window, his growl a low rumble, a canine guardian sensing Sophie's peril, inspired by real tales of canine bravery. Sophie's voice was a choked whisper, clutching a USB drive. "Please, Uncle James, stop." The drive, found in her father's safe with proof of James's illegal deals, burned in her hand, a lifeline to freedom. James's voice was venomous, grabbing a belt. "Hand it over, or you're done." Sophie's heart pounded, her voice a plea. "Don't hurt me." Rex's bark erupted, a thunderclap, claws scraping the door, his black and tan frame a shadow of fury. James's voice was a roar, swinging the belt. "Shut that mutt up!" The leather cracked, grazing Sophie's arm, her voice a scream. "Rex!" Lightning split the sky, illuminating Rex's amber eyes, a canine hero ready to strike, his bond with Sophie, her father's last gift, unbreakable. The tension spiked, James lunging for the USB, his voice a snarl. "Give it!" Sophie's voice was desperate, dodging. "No!" Rex's snarl was ferocious, the door splintering as he crashed through, wood flying, his massive frame tackling James. James's voice was a yelp crashing to the floor. "Get off, you beast!" Rex's teeth grazed his arm, pinning him, amber eyes blazing, a canine protector defying a tyrant, inspired by real tales of dogs saving their own. Sophie's voice was sobbing, scrambling to her feet. "Rex, you did it!" James's voice was a roar, shoving Rex. "You're both dead!" He grabbed a knife from the counter, blade glinting, but the storm's howl drowned his threat, rain flooding the kitchen. Sophie's voice was a cry, bolting for the door. "Run, Rex!" Rex's bark was fierce, his black and tan fur a blur, shielding her as they fled into the night, mud sucking at Sophie's sneakers. James's voice echoed, stumbling after. "You can't escape me!" The ranch's fields churned with mud, lightning flashing, as Sophie and Rex sprinted toward the barn. Sophie's voice was gasping. To Rex, "We gotta hide." Rex's amber eyes glowed, leading her to a horse stall, his canine instincts sharp, inspired by real tales of animals guiding their owners to safety. Inside, Sophie's voice was trembling, barricading the door. "He's coming, Rex!" Rex's growl was low, his black and tan frame tense, amber eyes locked on the entrance. Headlights pierced the storm, a truck screeching to a halt. Emma Larson, 60, silver hair under a raincoat, burst into the barn, voice urgent. "Sophie, I saw you run!" The retired mail carrier, tipped off by Clara's ledger, had raced back. Sophie's voice was a sob, hugging Rex. "Ms. Larson, he's after us!" Emma's voice was sharp, eyeing the door. "James, where is he?" Rex's snarl was fierce, his amber eyes blazing, sensing James's approach. A canine hero ready to fight. James's voice roared outside. "Sophie, you're mine!" His boots sloshed, knife in hand, vest soaked. Emma's voice was steady, pulling Sophie behind her. "Stay back, James." James's voice was a snarl, kicking the door. "You're in my way, old woman." The payback hit with a chuckle. His knife slipped in the mud, his voice a curse. "Damn it!" Emma's voice was dry, smirking. "Slippery out there, Carter." The twist hit like a thunderclap. Sheriff Dan Cole's cruiser roared up. Dan, 50, brown hair, badge glinting, voice booming. "Carter, drop it!" He'd been alerted by Laura Bennett, voice sharp. "You're under arrest. Assault, fraud." James's voice was a shout, lunging for Sophie. "She's lying." But Rex's snarl was ferocious, his black and tan frame a blur, tackling James, pinning him in the mud, amber eyes blazing. A canine hero saving his girl, inspired by real tales of dogs turning the tide. Sophie's voice was sobbing to Rex. "You're my hero." Dan's voice was grim, cuffing James. "You're done, Carter." Emma's voice was warm, hugging Sophie. "You're safe, sweetie." James's voice was broken, slumping. "I didn't mean to go this far." Ellie's voice was stunned to Dan. "He's confessing?" Dan's voice was steady, nodding. "Got enough to hold him. Your USB's key." Laura Bennett, 40, blonde hair, vet coat wet, rushed in, voice calm. "Sophie, let me check you." Her eyes flicked to Rex, voice soft. "Good boy." Sophie's voice was soft to Rex. "You saved me again." Rex's whine was gentle, his black and tan fur warm, amber eyes locked on her, a canine guardian unbroken by the storm. Clara's voice was breathless, arriving. "Sophie, you're okay?" The pines loomed, Cedar Hollow's secrets unraveling, and Sophie's bond with Rex was a spark that could free her or draw James's allies from the shadows. The Cedar Hollow dawn broke under a heavy mist, its pine-draped hills cloaking the town in a ghostly veil, the air sharp with damp cedar and the faint tang of rain-soaked earth. Emma Larson's modest cabin, tucked on the outskirts, hummed with quiet urgency, its warm glow a haven against the chill. Sophie Miller, 12, brown hair loose under a borrowed sweater, sat on a worn couch, her thin frame trembling, bruises fading but eyes haunted. Rex, a German shepherd, black and tan coat sleek, curled at her feet, amber eyes vigilant, a canine guardian anchoring her, inspired by real tales of canine devotion. Sophie's voice was a whisper, stroking him. "You got me out, Rex." Emma Larson, 60, silver hair pinned, apron tied, set a mug of cocoa down, voice soft. "You're safe here, Sophie." Sophie's voice was faint, clutching a USB drive. "He'll find me, Ms. Larson." The drive, proof of James Carter's illegal deals, burned in her hand, a lifeline after their storm-soaked escape from his ranch. Rex's whine was gentle, his massive frame tense, amber eyes locked on the door, a canine hero sensing her fear, inspired by real tales of dogs as protectors. Emma's voice was steady to Sophie. "Sheriff Cole's got James locked up. You're not alone." Sophie's voice was choked, shaking her head. "He's got friends, powerful ones." The journal, ledger, and USB had exposed James's theft of her family's wealth, but his arrest hadn't ended the threat. Sophie's voice was soft to Rex. "You're all I've got, boy." Rex's tail flicked, his black and tan fur warm, amber eyes gleaming, a canine soul unbreakable. The cabin's warmth clashed with the tension, a knock at the door jolting Sophie. "Doctor?" Laura Bennett, 40, red hair tied back, vet coat over jeans, stepped in, voice calm. "Sophie, I came to check on you." Her eyes flicked to the bruises, voice sharp. "You need a doctor, kid." Sophie's voice was small, shrinking. "I'm okay." Laura's voice was gentle, kneeling. "You're not. Let me help." Rex's whine was soft, nudging Sophie's hand, amber eyes urging trust, a canine guide through her pain. Emma's voice was urgent to Laura. James's men were spotted near the ranch. Dan's worried. Sophie's heart raced, her voice a gasp. "They're after the drive." Laura's voice was steady, grabbing her phone. "We'll get it to Dan, now." But Sophie's voice was trembling, clutching it. "What if he gets out?" Rex's growl was low, his black and tan frame rising, amber eyes locked on the window, sensing a shift, a canine sentinel ready to fight. The tension spiked. Clara Evans, 55, black hair, work dress neat, bursting in, voice breathless. "Sophie, I found something!" The shopkeeper held a faded envelope, voice urgent. "Your mom's letter, hidden in my store's files." Sophie's voice was a gasp, tearing it open. "Mom?" The letter read, "Sophie, if I'm gone, you're the heir. James can't take it. Trust Rex." A legal deed fell out, naming Sophie the rightful owner of the ranch. Sophie's voice was choked, tears falling. "I own it?" Emma's voice was stunned to Clara. "This changes everything." Laura's voice was sharp to Sophie. "James stole your inheritance." Rex's whine was fierce, his amber eyes blazing, pressing against Sophie, a canine hero tied to her mother's legacy, inspired by real tales of hidden truths. Sophie's voice was soft to Rex. "Mom planned this, didn't she?" But tires screeched outside, a truck's headlights piercing the fog. Sheriff Dan Cole, 50, brown hair, badge glinting, stormed in, voice grim. James cut a deal, testifying against his partners. Sophie's voice was a cry, clutching the deed. "He's free?" Dan's voice was steady, shaking his head. "Not yet, but his men are hunting you." Emma's voice was sharp to Dan. "They want the drive." Laura's voice was tense, handing Dan the USB. "Take it. Evidence of his fraud." The twist hit like a thunderclap. James Carter's voice crackled through a hidden speaker, a bug planted in Sophie's sweater. "You think you've won, Sophie?" Sophie's voice was a scream, ripping it off. "He's listening." James's voice was cold. "Give up the deed, or you're done." Rex's snarl was ferocious, his black and tan frame lunging at the speaker, shattering it, amber eyes blazing, a canine protector defying a ghost inspired by real tales of dogs sensing betrayal. Dan's voice was sharp, drawing his gun. "He's tracking us." Emma's voice was urgent to Sophie. "We're moving. Safe house now." Sophie's voice was trembling to Rex. "Stay with me, boy." Rex's bark was bold, his amber eyes locked on her, leading her to the truck, a canine guide through the fog. Clara's voice was tense to Laura. "His men are close. Saw him in town." Laura's voice was steady, grabbing her kit. "I'm coming. Rex needs me." The truck roared off, headlights cutting the mist. Dan's voice grim. "James flipped, but his partners want you silenced." Sophie's voice was choked, clutching the deed. "They'll kill me." Emma's voice was warm, squeezing her hand. "Not with us here, sweetie." The payback hit with a chuckle. A thug's bike skidded in the mud, his voice a curse. "Damn it!" Clara's laugh was dry, from the back. "Karma, huh?" A shadow loomed, James's truck, tailing them. Sophie's voice was a scream. "He's here!" Rex's growl was fierce, his black and tan frame braced, amber eyes blazing, a canine hero ready to fight. Dan's voice was sharp, swerving. "Hold on!" The safe house, a fortified cabin, loomed ahead, but headlights closed in, James's voice booming. "You're mine, Sophie!" Ellie's voice was resolute to Rex. "We'll make it, boy." The pines stood silent, Cedar Hollow's secrets unraveling, and Sophie's bond with Rex was a spark that could expose James's empire or ignite a deadly chase. The Cedar Hollow night pulsed with a fading storm, its pine-draped hills shrouded in a damp fog, the air thick with cedar and the sharp tang of wet earth. The safe house, a fortified cabin tucked deep in the Oregon wilderness, stood as a fragile bastion, its dim lights flickering against the encroaching dark. Sophie Miller, 12, brown hair loose under a borrowed jacket, crouched behind a couch, her thin frame trembling, bruises aching on her cheek. Rex, a German shepherd, black and tan coat sleek, pressed against her, amber eyes blazing, a canine guardian radiating strength, inspired by real tales of canine loyalty. Sophie's voice was a whisper, clutching a USB drive and a deed. "We're safe, right, Rex?" Rex's whine was soft, his massive frame tense, amber eyes locked on the cabin's door, a canine hero sensing danger, his bond with Sophie, forged through her father's love, unshakable. Sophie's voice was choked to herself. "He's coming for us." The USB, proof of James Carter's fraud, and the deed, naming her the ranch's heir, were her weapons against her uncle's reign of terror. Emma Larson, 60, silver hair pinned, sweater loose, stood by the window, voice low. "Dan's got patrols out, Sophie. Hold tight." Sheriff Dan Cole, 50, brown hair, badge glinting, checked his radio, voice grim. "James's men hit a roadblock. 2 down, but others are loose." Sophie's heart raced, her voice a gasp. "They're still after me." Dan's voice was steady, gripping his gun. "You're safe here, kid. Doctor." Laura Bennett, 40, red hair tied back, vet coat over jeans, bandaged Sophie's arm, voice calm. "You're tougher than you look, Sophie." Rex's growl was low, his black and tan fur bristling, amber eyes flicking to the door, a canine sentinel ready to strike. The cabin's warmth clashed with the tension, a creak outside snapping Sophie's focus. Clara Evans, 55, black hair, work dress creased, clutched a ledger, voice urgent. "Dan, I cross-checked. James's partners are mobbed up. They want that drive." Sophie's voice was trembling to Clara. "They'll kill me for it." Emma's voice was sharp to Dan. "We need backup." Dan's voice was tense, radioing, "Units, converge, now." The tension spiked, headlights piercing the fog, a truck's roar shaking the cabin. James Carter's voice boomed, "Sophie, you can't hide." Sophie's voice was a scream, "He's here!" James, 45, gray hair slick, vest torn, stepped from the shadows, flanked by 2 armed thugs, voice cold. "Hand over the drive, kid, or this ends bad." Rex's snarl was ferocious, his black and tan frame lunging, teeth bared, amber eyes blazing, a canine protector defying a monster, inspired by real tales of dogs facing impossible odds. Dan's voice was sharp, gun raised. "Carter, stand down." Emma's voice was fierce, shielding Sophie. "You're not touching her." James's voice was a snarl, pointing a pistol. "You're all dead." Laura's voice was tense, to Sophie. "Stay low." But Sophie's voice was desperate, clutching the deed. "You stole my home." Rex's bark was thunderous, his amber eyes locked on James, standing between Sophie and the gun, a canine hero unafraid. The payback hit with a chuckle. A thug's boot caught a rug, sprawling, his voice a curse. "Damn it!" Clara's laugh was dry. "Clumsy, huh?" But the standoff held, James's voice cold. "Last chance, Sophie." The twist hit like a thunderclap. James's hand shook, his voice breaking. "I didn't want this." His eyes flickered, tears welling. "Your dad trusted me. I lost my way." Sophie's voice was stunned to James. "You're sorry?" Dan's voice was sharp, lowering his gun. "Drop the weapon, Carter." James's voice was choked, tossing the pistol. "I'm done." His thugs hesitated, one raising a gun, but Rex's snarl erupted, his black and tan frame a blur, tackling the thug, pinning him, amber eyes blazing, a canine hero turning the tide, inspired by real tales of dogs seizing the moment. The second thug bolted, Dan's voice shouting, "Freeze!" A shot rang out, the thug collapsing, Dan's aim true. Sophie's voice was sobbing. To Rex, "You saved us." Emma's voice was warm, hugging her. "You're so brave, sweetie." James's voice was raw, slumping. "I'll testify. Everything." "I owe you, Sophie." Ellie's voice was stunned to Dan. "He's turning?" Dan's voice was grim, cuffing James. "If he's lying, he's done." Laura's voice was steady, checking Rex. "He's okay, just a scratch." Clara's voice was urgent, pulling Sophie aside. "Found this in my shop. Your mom's will." She held a sealed document, voice soft. "You're the sole heir, Sophie. Ranch, all of it." Sophie's voice was choked, tears falling. "Mom knew." Rex's whine was deep, his black and tan frame pressing against her, amber eyes gleaming, a canine hero tied to her parents' legacy, inspired by real tales of hidden inheritances. Sophie's voice was soft to Rex. "We're free, boy." The safe house stood firm, but headlights loomed, James's remaining men circling. Dan's voice was sharp, grabbing his radio. "Back up now!" Emma's voice was tense to Sophie. "We're moving. Town Hall. It's secure." Sophie's voice was trembling, clutching the will. "They won't stop." Laura's voice was warm to Sophie. "You've got us, kid." Rex's bark was bold, his amber eyes locked on the door, leading the way, a canine guardian through the fog. The payback hit with a chuckle. A thug's truck skidded, crashing into a ditch, his voice a curse. "Damn it!" Jake's laugh was gruff from the truck. "Bad night, huh?" Sophie's voice was resolute to Rex. "We'll make it, boy." The pines loomed, Cedar Hollow's secrets unraveling, and Sophie's bond with Rex was a spark that could reclaim her home, or ignite a final deadly clash. The Cedar Hollow twilight cast a heavy shroud over the town, its pine-draped hills cloaked in a restless fog, the air thick with cedar and the sharp tang of impending rain. The old Miller barn, a weathered relic on the outskirts of the Carter Ranch, stood silent, its loft a fortress of secrets. Sophie Miller, 12, brown hair loose under a tattered hoodie, crouched behind a hay bale, her thin frame trembling, bruises fading but fear raw in her chest. Rex, a German shepherd, black and tan coat sleek pressed against her, amber eyes blazing, a canine guardian radiating fierce resolve, inspired by real tales of canine heroism. Sophie's voice was a whisper, clutching a USB drive and a deed. "We've got it all, Rex. He's going down." Rex's whine was soft, his massive frame tense, amber eyes locked on the loft's trapdoor, a canine hero sensing danger, his bond with Sophie, forged through her father's love, unshakable. The USB, proof of James Carter's fraud, and the deed, naming Sophie the ranch's heir, were her weapons, but James's mobbed-up partners hunted them relentlessly. Sophie's voice was choked to Rex. "They're coming, aren't they?" Rex's growl was low, his black and tan fur bristling, a canine sentinel ready to fight. Outside, the barn creaked under the wind's assault, shadows shifting in the fog. Emma Larson, 60, silver hair pinned, sweater loose, stood guard below, voice low, to Sheriff Dan Cole, 50, brown hair, badge glinting. "Dan, they hit the safe house. Knew we'd move." Dan's voice was grim, checking his rifle. James's deal's shaky. His partners want Sophie silenced. Dr. Laura Bennett, 40, red hair tied back, vet coat over jeans, patched Rex's scratches, voice steady. "She's tough, Dan, but we need that drive safe." Clara Evans, 55, black hair, work dress creased, clutched a ledger, voice urgent. It's all here. James's accounts, mob ties. Sophie's voice was faint, descending the ladder. Ms. Evans, they'll kill for this. Clara's voice was warm, hugging her. Not with us, kid. Rex's bark was sharp, his amber eyes locked on the barn door. Sensing a threat, a canine hero poised for battle, inspired by real tales of dogs defying odds. Sophie's voice was trembling to Dan. What now? The tension spiked, headlights piercing the fog, a truck's roar shaking the barn. James Carter's voice boomed. Sophie, you can't run. Sophie's voice was a scream. He's out? James, 45, gray hair slick, vest torn, stepped from the shadows, flanked by 3 armed thugs, voice cold. Give me the drive or this ends bloody. Dan's voice was sharp, gun raised. Carter, you're under arrest! James's voice was a snarl, pistol glinting. Not today, Cole. Rex's snarl was ferocious, his black and tan frame lunging, teeth bared, amber eyes blazing, tackling a thug, pinning him, a canine protector defying death, inspired by real tales of dogs turning battles. Sophie's voice was desperate to Rex. Be careful. Emma's voice was fierce, shielding Sophie. Stay back. Laura's voice was tense, grabbing a pitchfork. We're not losing her. Clara's voice was sharp to James. You're done, Carter. James's voice was venomous, aiming at Sophie. Last chance, kid. The payback hit with a chuckle. A thug's gun jammed, his voice a curse. Damn it. Dan's laugh was gruff. Bad day, huh? But the standoff held, James's voice cold. You ruined me, Sophie. The twist hit like a thunderclap. James's gun wavered, his voice breaking. I loved your dad. I didn't mean for this. Sophie's voice was stunned to James. You're lying. Dan's voice was sharp, lowering his rifle. Drop it, Carter. James's voice was choked, tossing the gun. I'll testify. Everything. I owe you. His thugs hesitated, one raising a rifle, but Rex's snarl erupted, his black and tan frame a blur, tackling the thug, amber eyes blazing. A canine hero saving his girl, inspired by real tales of dogs seizing the moment. The second thug fired, grazing Rex's flank, Sophie's voice a scream. No! Laura's voice was urgent, rushing to Rex. He's hit! Sophie's voice was sobbing to Rex. Stay with me, boy. Rex's whine was fierce, his amber eyes locked on her, struggling to stand, a canine guardian unbroken by pain. Dan's voice was sharp, firing, the thug collapsing. Clear. Emma's voice was tense to Sophie. He's tough, like you. Clara's voice was breathless to Dan. More are coming. Saw him on the ridge. The twist deepened. Laura's voice was stunned, pulling Sophie aside, holding a vet report. Rex's DNA, trained guard dog genes from your dad's program. Sophie's voice was a gasp, reading, Dad bred him. For me? Laura's voice was soft, nodding. He's your protector, Sophie. Born for this. Rex's bark was weak, his black and tan frame leaning on Sophie, amber eyes gleaming. A canine hero fulfilling a legacy, inspired by real tales of purpose-bred guardians. Dan's voice was urgent, grabbing his radio. Back up, now! Emma's voice was sharp to Sophie. We're moving, town hall's secure. Sophie's voice was trembling, clutching the deed. They won't stop! Clara's voice was warm to Sophie. You've got us, kid. Rex's growl was faint, his amber eyes blazing, limping beside her, a canine guardian through the fog. Laura's voice was steady, bandaging Rex. He'll make it, strong as you. Headlights loomed, James's remaining men closing in. Dan's voice was sharp, swerving the truck. Hold on! Sophie's voice was resolute to Rex. We're almost there, boy. The payback hit with a chuckle. A thug's bike skidded, crashing into a tree, his voice a curse. Damn it! Jake's laugh was gruff from the passenger seat. "Rough night, huh?" The town hall loomed, a beacon of safety, but James's voice echoed in Sophie's mind, his confession a fragile hope, or a deadly trap. The pines stood silent, Cedar Hollow's secrets unraveling, and Sophie's bond with Rex was a spark that could reclaim her future, or ignite a final desperate clash. The Cedar Hollow morning shimmered under a pale sun, its pine-draped hills casting long shadows across the town, the air crisp with cedar and the faint sweetness of blooming wildflowers. The county courthouse, a sturdy brick building at the heart of the community, buzzed with tension, its steps crowded with townsfolk awaiting a historic verdict. Sophie Miller, 12, brown hair neatly braided under a simple dress, stood in the courtroom, her thin frame steady despite the fading bruises on her cheek. Rex, a German shepherd, black and tan coat glossy, sat at her side, amber eyes calm, a canine guardian radiating quiet strength, inspired by real tales of canine loyalty. Sophie's voice was soft, stroking him. "We're almost free, Rex." Rex's whine was gentle, his massive frame relaxed, amber eyes locked on her, a canine hero whose courage had carried her through James Carter's reign of terror, his bond with Sophie, forged by her father's love, unbreakable. The USB drive, ledger, and deed, proving James's fraud and Sophie's rightful ownership of the Carter Ranch, had led to this moment. Emma Larson, 60, silver hair pinned, sweater crisp, squeezed Sophie's hand, voice warm. "You're so brave, sweetie." Sheriff Dan Cole, 50, brown hair, badge polished, stood by the door, voice low, to Dr. Laura Bennett, 40, red hair tied back, vet coat swapped for a blazer. James's partners are cornered, his testimonies airtight. Laura's voice was steady, nodding. "Sophie's the key. She's unstoppable." Clara Evans, 55, black hair, work dress neat, clutched a stack of legal papers, voice firm. "Her mom's will seals it. She's the heir." Sophie's voice was faint to Clara. "They believe me now?" Clara's voice was warm, smiling. "Every word, kid." The courtroom hummed, the judge's gavel poised, as James Carter, 45, gray hair disheveled, vest replaced by a jumpsuit, sat at the defense table, his face gaunt. Sophie's heart raced, her voice a whisper to Rex. "He can't hurt us anymore, right?" Rex's tail flicked, his black and tan fur brushing her, amber eyes steady, a canine sentinel guarding her spirit, inspired by real tales of dogs as anchors. The tension spiked, the judge's voice booming. "James Carter on charges of fraud, theft, and assault. How do you plead?" James's voice was low, standing. "Guilty, Your Honor." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Sophie's voice a gasp to Emma. "He admitted it?" Emma's voice was stunned, nodding. "He's done, Sophie." James's voice was choked, meeting Sophie's gaze. "I'm sorry, kid. I lost myself." "Your dad. He'd hate me." Sophie's voice was trembling to James. "You hurt me, but I'm stronger now." Rex's growl was soft, his amber eyes locked on James, a canine hero sensing truth, his role in exposing James's crimes, through courage and instinct, undeniable. The judge's voice was firm. Sentencing, 5 years, restitution to Sophie Miller. Sophie's voice was a sob, tears falling. "It's over, Rex." The courtroom doors burst open, a thug in a leather jacket charging, voice a snarl. "You're not walking, kid." Sophie's voice was a scream. "No!" Rex's snarl was ferocious, his black and tan frame a blur. lunging, teeth sinking into the thug's arm, pinning him, amber eyes blazing, a canine protector defying a final threat, inspired by real tales of dogs facing danger head-on. Dan's voice was sharp, tackling the thug. "You're under arrest." Emma's voice was fierce, shielding Sophie. "You're safe." Laura's voice was urgent, checking Rex. "He's okay, no blood." Sophie's voice was sobbing, hugging Rex. "You saved me again, boy." Clara's voice was tense. To Dan, James's partners. "Last-ditch effort?" Dan's voice was grim, cuffing the thug. "They're done. Feds are rounding 'em up." The payback hit with a chuckle. The thug's gun fell, skittering, his voice a curse. "Damn it." Clara's laugh was dry. "Slippery hands, huh?" The twist hit like a thunderclap. James's voice was raw, standing. "I tipped Dan, knew they'd come." "Wanted you safe, Sophie." Sophie's voice was stunned to James. "You helped?" James's voice was faint, tears falling. "Your dad loved you. I failed him, but not now." Emma's voice was soft to Sophie. "He's trying, kid." Sophie's voice was trembling, nodding. "Thank you, Uncle James." Rex's whine was gentle, his black and tan frame pressing against Sophie, amber eyes locked on her, a canine hero sensing her healing heart, inspired by real tales of redemption through sacrifice. Laura's voice was warm to Sophie. "You're the ranch's owner now. What's next?" Sophie's voice was steady, clutching the deed. "I'll make it a home for kids like me." Clara's voice was choked, hugging her. "Your mom'd be so proud." The courthouse steps erupted in cheers as they exited, townsfolk chanting Sophie's name, her voice bright to Rex. "We did it, boy." Dan's voice was gruff to Emma. "She's a fighter, like Rex." Emma's voice was warm, smiling. "They're family." The twist deepened. Clara's voice was urgent, pulling Sophie aside, holding a faded letter. "Found this in your mom's things, your dad's last wish." Sophie's voice was a gasp, opening it. "Dad?" The letter read, "Sophie, Rex is your guardian, bred from my guard dogs. He'll protect you always." Sophie's voice was choked, tears falling. "He knew, Rex." Rex's bark was bold, his amber eyes gleaming, his black and tan frame standing tall, a canine hero fulfilling a father's promise, inspired by real tales of purpose-bred protectors. Sophie's voice was soft to Rex. "You're my dad's heart, aren't you?" The fog lifted, Cedar Hollow's hills glowing under the sun, the ranch now Sophie's to reclaim. Emma's voice was steady to Sophie. "You're not alone. We're with you." Laura's voice was warm to Rex. "Good boy, time to heal." Sophie's voice was resolute to Clara. "I'll start a shelter, for kids, for dogs." Dan's voice was proud, nodding. "You'll change this town, kid." The payback hit with a chuckle. A reporter, rushing to film, tripped, his voice a curse. "Dang it!" Clara's laugh was bright. "Watch your step." Sophie's voice was bright to Rex. "We're home, boy." The pines stood silent, Cedar Hollow's secrets laid bare, and Sophie's bond with Rex was a spark that reclaimed her legacy. But could it shield her from the mob's lingering shadows? The Cedar Hollow Valley glowed under a radiant summer sun, its pine-draped hills bursting with wildflowers, the air sweet with cedar and the warm hum of a new beginning. The Carter Ranch, reborn as Hope's Haven, sprawled across the rolling fields, its freshly painted barns and open pastures alive with laughter and barking dogs. The community's first Hope's Haven Day festival pulsed with life, colorful banners proclaiming "Love Heals All," townsfolk packing the grounds, their cheers mingling with the playful yips of rescue pups. Sophie Miller, 13, brown hair in a bright ponytail, blue sundress fluttering, stood on a stage, voice clear, holding a ribbon. Rex, you're our hero. Rex, a German shepherd, now a year old, black and tan coat glossy, pranced beside her, amber eyes gleaming, a service vest adorned with a silver badge. Hope's guardian. He nudged a group of shelter pups, leading them through a joyful obstacle course, his canine grace inspiring gasps. A hero whose courage had saved Sophie from James Carter's terror, inspired by real tales of canine devotion. Sophie's voice was choked, smiling. You brought us home, Rex. Emma Larson, 60, silver hair pinned, sweater crisp, clapped from the crowd, voice warm. You're shining, Sophie. Sheriff Dan Cole, 50, brown hair, badge polished, stood nearby, voice gruff. Kids tougher than me, doctor. Laura Bennett, 40, red hair loose, blazer neat, hugged Clara Evans, 55, black hair, work dress bright, voice soft. She's changed this town. Sophie's voice was bright to the crowd. Hope's Haven is for kids like me, and dogs like Rex. The festival buzzed, booths offering pup treats, kids painting Rex rules signs, the shelter pups' playful romps drawing cheers. Rex's bark was bold, his black and tan frame bounding through the grass, amber eyes locked on Sophie, a canine hero thriving in his role as guardian and friend, his bond with her, forged through her father's love, unshakable. The USB drive, ledger, deed, and James's confession had reclaimed the ranch, now a sanctuary for abused kids and rescue dogs, a testament to Sophie's strength. Clara's voice was warm to Emma. Her mom's smiling somewhere. Emma's voice was choked, nodding. And her dad, Rex, was his gift. James Carter, now serving time, had testified against his mob partners. His redemption fragile but real, donating his wealth to Hope's Haven. Sophie's voice was soft to Rex. We're family, boy. Rex's whine was gentle, his amber eyes gleaming, a canine sentinel guarding her heart, inspired by real tales of loyalty beyond measure. The tension spiked, a low growl from Rex drawing Sophie's gaze. His ears pinned, amber eyes fixed on a stranger in a dark coat slipping through the crowd. Sophie's voice was a gasp to Dan. Sheriff, someone's here. Dan's voice was sharp, scanning. Stay close, Sophie. Rex's snarl was fierce, his black and tan frame charging, weaving through festival goers, a canine protector sensing a threat, inspired by real tales of dogs thwarting danger. The stranger bolted, dropping a knife, his voice a curse. Damn it! Laura's voice was urgent to Sophie. Get back! Sophie's voice was trembling, clutching her locket. It's them, James's men. Emma's voice was fierce, shielding her. Not today. Dan's voice was sharp, sprinting. Freeze! He tackled the stranger, badge glinting, voice grim. Last of the mob. Thought he'd silence you. Rex's bark was thunderous, his amber eyes locked on the thug, standing guard, a canine hero turning the tide, inspired by real tales of dogs as defenders. Clara's voice was breathless to Sophie. You're safe, kid. Sophie's voice was sobbing, hugging Rex. You knew, boy. The payback hit with a chuckle. The thug's coat caught on a fence, ripping, his voice a curse. Son of a... Dan's laugh was gruff, cuffing him. Bad day, pal. The crowd cheered, chanting Rex's name. Sophie's voice bright to Rex. You're unstoppable. The twist hit like a thunderclap. Laura's voice was urgent, pulling Sophie aside, holding a sealed letter. Found this in your dad's old files. His final note. Sophie's voice was a gasp, opening it. Dad? The letter read, Sophie, Rex is your shield, bred from my guard dogs to protect you. Your Cedar Hollow's light. A photo fell, her parents with a young Rex, a guard dog badge pinned to his collar. Sophie's voice was choked, tears falling. He planned it all. Rex's whine was deep, his black and tan frame pressing against her, amber eyes locked on her, a canine hero fulfilling a father's dream, inspired by real tales of legacies enduring. Sophie's voice was steady to the crowd. "My dad gave me Rex to save me. Now we're saving others." Cheers erupted, cameras flashing, the festival a testament to their triumph. Emma's voice was warm to Sophie. "You're their hope, kid." The message shone clear. Love and courage transcend pain, healing the deepest scars, and a girl's bond with her dog could spark a community's rebirth. Sophie's story, rooted in real tales of canine devotion, was Cedar Hollow's light, a testament to resilience, trust, and the unbreakable ties that bind us. The fields glowed under the setting sun, hope lingering, a promise of new beginnings. To everyone watching, Sophie and Rex's journey proves that love conquers all, uniting hearts through bravery and trust. Share your story of a loyal pet or a moment of courage in the comments. What's your spark? Subscribe to Pawprints of Hope, join our community, and keep stories like theirs alive, showing that heroes with paws or hearts can change the world.